Hello and welcome to Sam Not So Wise. My name is Sam and today I'm going to talk about something that may get me into a tiny bit of trouble because I'm going to be talking about books, series and authors that I have no interest in reading whatsoever. Now, I'm not doing this to try and build any controversy on my channel. I don't want that. I want nice, positive conversations. I'm just trying to let my regular viewers and maybe some new viewers know what they should not expect me to talk about ever on my channel unless something drastically changes. Like, I would have to completely finish everything that I want to read to be picking these books up. And as we all know, that is never going to happen, which is a great problem to have. There's always stuff that I want to read. And the other way that that can change is if you lovely people know why I am stupid and why I should be picking these up. So let me know in the comments what I need to, change from this list of people and books and put them onto my TBR. So yes, I'm going to start by talking about authors and series that I have read something of but do not plan on continuing with. And then just some others that I haven't tried but I just have no pull. There's no pull, nothing bringing me into wanting me to read these books, genres, series, authors, those kind of things. And also at the end, I'm going to talk about a few authors that I won't be reading for, let's say, other reasons. And you'll find out when we get there. So, the bloody nursery are doing a lot of work again. It's always when I'm recording, apparently. So if you hear any of those noises, I do apologize. But with that and much further ado, let's talk about some books that I will not ever be reading. So I'm going to start off by talking about some authors that I have read some works from, but I'm just not interested in reading any more of. So the first one is one that is likely to get me into a little bit of trouble straight away because it is Blake Crouch. Now, I have read Dark Matter. I've read it twice, actually. I reread it this month for my book club, and I've read Recursion. And whilst I didn't find them bad books at all, they're just not really me. They're very much thriller focused, all about the pace, and they just don't hold any kind of depth further than that for me. I know that many people love these books and love this author so much, but it's just not my kind of style, really. I like a little bit more depth, a little bit more character building, a little bit more thematic work. And yeah, whilst these were kind of quick, easy reads that, might be helpful between heavier books, I'm just not really drawn to this kind of writing style. So unfortunately for me, I won't be reading any more Blake Crouch. Now the next one is R.F. Kuang. I've read one book by her and that was Babel, however you say that, I don't really know. And it was okay. Again, it was okay. But what I really didn't like about it was how she used her thematic work in this book. It was very much spoon feeding to you or whacking you over the head, extremely obvious, no subtlety whatsoever. The story was kind of boring and the characters kind of flat. And this is kind of lauded as one of her best books. And I've heard bad things about other books of hers, such as the Poppy War series. So I just don't think this author is going to be for me. If you like this author, which goes with anyone and any of these books, by the way, if you like this, good for you. I am jealous that I don't have the same enjoyment as you do. But for me, I just get the feeling from Kuang that it's just not my kind of thematic styling. There goes the chainsaw. Let's take a little break. So the next one is Brandon Sanderson, but his YA work. So not Brandon Sanderson in general. I've read a lot of his works. I've read Stormlight, I've read the first Mistborn series, and I've read 3 of his standalones, and for the most part I have enjoyed them. Not kind of like the pinnacle for me as it is for a lot of people, but I do enjoy his works and I like him as an author. So I have a little bit of a complicated relationship with him, as in I don't like his writing style, but I love his world building and his storytelling. And things just kind of got a little bit out of hand at times in Stormlight and just overly long. I don't think I am alone in thinking that. And in general, his writing tends to lean more towards the YA side, but obviously that isn't an issue. Like, I've read plenty of YA books and series that I enjoy, but I just really don't like his dialogue and his humor. And I think the younger it skews, the worse that will get. so I'm just not interested in reading. He has like a couple of sci-fi series, and I can't remember, but I won't be reading his YA books. But at some point I'll get back to Brandon Sanderson, but I need a little break for now because I read all of Stormlight last year and that just got a little bit tiring. So the next one is going to be Salman Rushdie. Now I have read The Satanic Verses, which was a struggle to get through just because of his writing style. In general, I wanted to read it because I've heard of all the controversy surrounding it. That wasn't a problem for me, but I didn't like his storytelling techniques and his writing style. Then I tried Midnight's Children. I got to about 70 pages and I just DNF'd it, which is one of the only DNFs I've ever done. So that tells you something. I just really don't gel with his writing style. That is it, really. I know that he has so much to say, which is why this one makes me sad and maybe the most likely to change as I grow and maybe get used to different styles of prose. I just found it to be incredibly convoluted and long-winded and just sniff your own farty. So yeah, it just wasn't for me. So at the moment, I have no interest in reading any more Salman Rushdie. The next one is Sally Rooney. So I read, I think it's Conversation with Friends or something like that. I found it cheap on the Kindle store, so I thought, let's give this a go, even though I'm not much of a romance reader. And this just confirmed it to me that I'm not, because I really didn't like this book. The characters felt so stupid and so unrealistic that I was just like, there goes the chainsaw, thank you guys, I'm going to continue. I was just like, this... I can't suspend my disbelief that people would actually talk like this or make these decisions. Now, I know this book isn't one of her most famous or most beloved, but it just left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth and made me think that this is just not for me. Again, I understand why people might like this, but for me, it was just a little bit too unrealistic, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe there are people that talk like this and make these kind of stupid decisions. There probably are. So next, I'll talk about some series that I have read an entry or more from, but I won't be continuing in. So basically DNFing the series, if you will. And the first one I'm going to talk about is The King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, the first book being The Name of the Wind. Now, this book is kind of contentious in a way. You have people who absolutely love it and people that are just like, I hate this book. I don't really hate it. I just didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't like Kvothe. I don't really know if you're supposed to like him, but for me, it was just quite a big miss and I just didn't hold any interest in continuing the series. So I will not be reading the second book or the novellas, and I definitely won't be reading The Doors of Stone. So the next series is The Wayfinders by Becky Chambers, the first book being A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which I read last year, I think. And this was okay. Like, I didn't hate it at all. It just, I think this suits more readers who are beginners to the genre or maybe younger skewing readers. I felt it to be a little bit too cutesy, a little bit too cozy, which is just not really my style. So it's a me thing. I definitely understand why a lot of people love this book. It has a lot of great parts to it. It's just not my style. And so therefore I won't be continuing in the rest of the series. The next one is the Bobbyverse. So I read We Are Legion, We Are Bob. And I really enjoyed like the sci-fi concepts, although it wasn't necessarily new. But this is a sci-fi concept that I can get along with and I enjoy reading. I just really didn't like, again, the main character. And a lot of this book is very humor focused. And for me, the humor was incredibly cheesy and nostalgia based, which is just not my thing. And humor is very taste based. So if you don't get along with the humor in these books, you're not really going to get along with the books in the series. And for that reason, I will not be continuing with the Bobbyverse. Now, finally, series that I've read books from is Dune. So I read up to The God Emperor of Dune. I enjoyed the first three. God Emperor, no thank you. I did not enjoy that book at all. And I only hear that it goes more downhill from there. So if that, you know, if things get worse than that book, so my experience of that book being so negative, I just don't have any interest in going any further. And that point in the series is a good cut-off point, is what I've heard. I'm also not interested in reading what was written after Frank Herbert died. So I will not be reading any more Dune in the future. So next up, I'm going to talk about a few subgenres that are kind of doing the rounds at the moment and becoming quite popular that I just don't have any interest in reading. So they are as follows. Cozy fantasy. I've read a couple of cozy-ish books, and they're just not me. They're just not my style. I completely understand the allure of something cozy, especially in a world that is so fraught with depressing stuff happening every day. It's so nice to go and get a warm hug from a book, but that's not the reason that I read, so therefore I am not very interested in them. Again, never say never. If something comes up in my book club, I will read it and we'll see if I enjoy it, but I'm not going to be choosing anything cozy. But all power to you if you want those warm hugs from those books. I think that's wonderful. Romantasy, I'm just not that interested in romance-focused books. I'm not against romances in my books, but I don't want that to be the main focus. I did actually read Fourth Wing last year, again, like a book club type experience, and yeah, I just didn't enjoy it at all. The romance was awkward for me, and the fantasy elements were not very well developed in my opinion. Again, I understand why people like these, but it just doesn't hold any interest to me, and to be honest, I don't think they are designed for readers like me, so that's fine. And I'm really happy with the rise of romantasy because it just brings in so many new readers to the fantasy genre and just reading in general, but I won't be picking any of those up anytime soon. And the next one, the biggest one at the moment, possibly, I don't know, probably not, is lit RPG. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just kind of not very interested in reading about a game in my book. Like, I play PlayStation, like I just started a new game and it's really fun. And I play these kind of quite heavy board games quite often, as you might be able to tell. So I can get this kind of experience by doing it myself. And I'd rather leave my reading up to something different. So I understand the appeal, and Dungeon Crawler Carl, for example, is getting so popular right now, but I personally am just not that interested, so I won't be reading Dungeon Crawler Carl or any other lit RPG anytime soon. So the next section is going to be some fantasy series that I haven't read anything from, but I won't be reading anything from either. There are so many series out there that I have to, decide some that I'm not going to read, and these are the ones that made that list. So the first three I'll talk about, I won't be reading for kind of the same reasons, really, and they tend to be more classic fantasy series. So ones that kind of followed on from the Tolkien tradition and maybe could be described as being a little bit derivative and not really breaking any mold, not really doing anything new. Nothing against these books because that was just the time that they wrote in and it made sense. But having read now a fair amount of fantasy, I feel like I would have read these stories many, many times. And I'm just looking for something a little bit different, moving on from these stories that may be a little bit similar. And so they are series such as Belgariad, Shannara, and Sword of Truth. So those kind of classic fantasies that, yeah, like I said, just very much in the Tolkien tradition, but not doing anything new. So also I've heard that Terry Goodkind was a bit of a dick, so that's also another reason to not read Sword of Truth. And kind of in a similar vein, I won't be reading the Rhaeria books. I know there's a bunch of series within that world. Again, I think they're just kind of stories that you may have read many, many times. That's a lot more modern. But in that similar vein of these kind of classic stories, I'm not against tropes, but I like seeing tropes done and then taken a little bit further, doing something new, pushing the boundaries of the genre. And I believe that the Rhaeria books don't really do that. So at the moment, that is not holding much interest for me. Another one slightly different is The Witcher. Now, the main reason I'm not interested in The Witcher is because I haven't heard much good about it. I think the only people that I've heard that really, really enjoy the series are Polish people. And so I think it may be down to translation issues. I don't know, but I heard the first couple of books are great and then they go downhill. So it's just a reputation thing. Now, if a new translation ever comes out and people read it and start saying, wow, this translation has transformed these books, then maybe I will pick them up because, like, for example, my stepmother is Polish. These books are very important to her, so it would be nice to have that bonding experience. But at the moment, I just feel like its reputation isn't good enough for me to want to pick it up at all. Another one is Brent Weeks. I can't really explain why. I just have a feeling that I'm not going to like his books. Again, I know that some people absolutely love him. Some people think he's not good at all. So just this kind of conflicting opinion and just like the synopsis of the stories at the moment don't hold any interest. So with so much more to read in my TBR, Brent Weeks is pretty much just not in there at all. So continuing in a similar vein with some sci-fi books, I will not be reading Ready Player One. I've heard that this book is basically just nostalgia porn, and if you didn't grow up in the 80s, then you won't like it. And even if you did grow up in the 80s, you might not like it. It's, yeah, I've heard not good things about this book, mostly. My wife read it and she absolutely hated it. So yeah, I'm just not going to be reading Ready Player One, and that's okay by me. Now, the next one, which is a bit more popular at the moment, especially since there is a TV series that just started, is Murderbot. And I can't really put my finger on why I don't want to read it. I think maybe it's just I don't enjoy the sound of the synopsis. It doesn't hold much interest with me. And I've also just heard quite conflicting things about it, which is not really a reason to not read something. You can make your own mind up, but I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but Murderbot probably won't be reading anytime soon, possibly never. Now the final section, and probably the most controversial section of the video, save the best till last, that's what I always say, is authors that I won't be reading because of their life views or things they may have said or may have done. Now this is controversial because it brings up that old question of art versus the artist. This subject could be talked about in a whole video for hours and hours, and nobody will ever have a definitive answer, but I feel my position is that it's up to the person and it's up to them, where they draw that line of art versus the artist and whether they decide to not read somebody's books because of what they've done or said. So these are a few authors that I am deciding to not read because of what they've done or said. And the first one is quite a big one. It is Cixin Liu. So he has been quite popular recently, especially on BookTube and a lot of circles. And you know what? I really like the sound of his books. They really interest me very much, but he has some extremely controversial views and he's said some extremely controversial things. I'm not going to go into the details, and there may be some other cultural reasons why he is saying this, but for me, I cannot get past what he has said. I find it a little bit too despicable, and just reading them and knowing he has said these things would make me feel a bit sick. So the next one is Marion Zimmer Bradley. Now, she did some truly awful things, like proven truly awful things. And I know she's not alive, but again, for me, it's just knowing that this author did these things and then reading the words that she's saying, it will just make me feel unwell reading them. Again, I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, she did some really awful things. And the final one is J.K. Rowling. So I really don't like what she has turned into in the past, 10 years or so. I have read Harry Potter, but when I have children, I won't be reading Harry Potter to them. I won't be buying them the books. When they're older and they can make their own decisions and use their own money to buy the books if they want to go and read them, then they are welcome to. But for me, I am not being a part of it because I really don't like what she has become. So yeah, unsubscribe if you want to. I'm sure some people will. Just finally, there are a few that I'm kind of not sure on in this controversial section. One is H.P. Lovecraft. Now, I know you have to take a lot of things into context of their time, right? And I really try to do that with everything I read. I think it's so important to think about the context of when things were written. And I've heard there's just so many racist things in H.P. Lovecraft's writing. And yes, you have to take it with a dose of it in its time. But what I've heard is that it's kind of extra with him. It's kind of a little bit more. It's kind of not just of its time, but just going into worse than of its time, like kind of extra racist. But I don't know. But also another reason is I'm just not really interested in horror. So the two put together makes me think that probably not. Never say never, but just not interested at the moment. Neil Gaiman, I love so many of his books, but I'm not sure if I want to continue. The whole thing that's going on with him is still ongoing, so I think I'll just wait to see how that pans out, but it's not looking good for him. He seems like a despicable man, which is a massive shame. And the final one is Rudyard Kipling. So he was apparently a glorifier of the British Empire and the kind of things that were happening in India and that area at the end of the British Empire, and kind of dismissed a lot of the problems that the locals had. But you know what? I think this is the least likely for me to DNF because I'm kind of interested in this period of history, and I'm thinking about potentially writing some kind of book or story about this kind of thing, and it might be a useful perspective to have in terms of what these kind of characters and people thought at the time. So maybe I won't agree with his stance on stuff, but maybe I will read some of his things. Whew, okay, that's the end of the video. I'm a little bit nervous about putting this one out, but please try and remember that this is nothing against anybody that loves these authors, these books, these genres, whatever. Like, if you want to read these things and enjoy them, good for you. I'm jealous. I want to love everything and I want to read everything, but that's just not going to be the case. And honestly, it's kind of relieving to have some authors and some series that I'm not going to read because the TBR is too bloody long. But to that effect, please let me know your thoughts on any of the things that I've been talking about whilst my TBR is too long and I'll never finish it. It's never really a bad thing to be like interested in something else and be excited about something else. So tell me if any of these series, why I'm wrong and why I should maybe consider putting them on the TBR, even if it is lower down, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll fly through it at some point. Also, let me know some kind of books and authors that you probably won't ever read, and give me some reasons. It would be wonderful to have a little conversation in the comments. But that is it for now. If you've made it this far into the video, I thank you so much. If you liked the video, please like it. If you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing. Please don't unsubscribe if you didn't like some of my opinions. Now that's fine, but I'm hoping we can just have a good conversation. But that is it for now. So I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye.